Let's move on to Denver, who have had quite the process with first round picks, having traded away, traded back, traded away. Like, still don't. So they don't have anything. Their first pick is number 67, but then they have back-to-back picks. 67 and 68 are their two selections. So what's an ideal scenario for Denver?
I went with Dian Henley, the Washington State linebacker at 67. Okay. I think he's the best coverage linebacker in this draft. I think he's an athlete, the caliber of athlete that's missing from this linebacking core right now. That, like, maybe they drafted Baron Browning. Baron Browning's a different type of guy, but like to have that, to bring that level to that linebacking core, then they obviously switched him to edge. And so I think just someone like that can really be a flexible coverage player for you. I would love to add to that defense. And I'd also love to add another flexible coverage player on the back end. I think Cam Smith from South Carolina, I'm not sure where he ends up going, but to me, he's very similar to Kareem Jackson, the guy who was so key to that defense the past handful of years for his versatility, that he could play the slot, that he could play safety, that he could play outside if he wants to. So I think Cam Smith going to there would bring, I guess, what Kareem Jackson just brought to them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I gave them defensive line help. I think they want to keep stocking that defensive line up and make sure it's a strength. And as much as they looked like they had a ton of bodies at the start of last year, it kind of evaporated really quickly. Like, Baron Browning had this weird month of insane production, and then it just stopped happening and never started again. Nick Bonito, I really liked as a sort of situational edge guy, but didn't show too much year one. I'm not sure you can rely on him being an impact guy going forward. I know they gave a ton of money to Randy Gregory, who was injured, didn't play for a lot of it. Like, also, Gregory's kind of career is this very strange career arc of, suspended a ton, missed a lot of time, then was really good for a really short period of time, then got the ton of money off the back of it. Like, it's all about how much can you rely on him being a 17-game, true difference maker on the edge. So with that amount of question marks, I just want more options there. And when you're talking about, like, the top of the third round, this is where I think it's tricky, because realistically, the top of the third round there's going to be some players where you think right now we're talking about them as maybe they sneak into the first, right? Maybe sneak into the first, slips around on draft day, and it's actually realistic, but now it looks absurd, right? So guys like Keon White from Georgia Tech, our guy Ade Adebaware, the Northwestern defensive tackle, I guess. It was an edge rusher in college, blew up the combine with his 4.4 40. His stock seems like it's heading in the opposite direction, but who knows where he actually ends up going given the projection involved. Tuli Tuipulotu from USC, like some kind of defensive lineman, I think, being added to that group, almost regardless of where it is, makes sense for the Broncos.
Yeah, I would bet on a Keon White slip, because when you're billed as a freak athlete, and that's why people are going to bat for you as a first rounder, and then you're like objectively not in his pre-draft testing, you're at a 4.79,
right,
at his pro day. 281 pounds, 4.79 is, I mean, it's not bad for by any means, but it's not, 200 for a 281 pounder, you better be, Kalijah Kancey ran a 4.67, right? That's the range. Low 4.7 is what you better be in to be considered a high-end athlete. So what is there then? There's just good size, good physicality, but I don't see a first-round player. So it wouldn't surprise me if he is on the board there for Denver.
Yeah, and I think they're actually, we look at their roster, they've attacked quite a lot in free agency. Obviously, they invested in the offensive line. That offensive line may not be amazing, but you can't really find a spot where you could obviously immediately upgrade it, or that you think is a definite need. They would want to come out of the first couple of rounds. Maybe they grab one of those centers and try and replace Lloyd Cushenberry, but I don't think it's a massive need. Running back, you bring in a guy like Samaje Perine to cover for Javonte Williams if that recovery takes a while. Their wide receiver room is stacked. Like, the offense is pretty much set. And as good as the defense was, that's the only area where you would look. So, and to be honest, you can probably add bodies at all three levels, whether it's depth on the defensive line, rotation, whatever, whether it's, as you've been saying, a linebacker with athleticism or some help and competition in the secondary. I think basically they need to look defense for those picks.
Yeah, the one position offensively that I'd say you probably like to have just some insurance is offensive tackle, but kind of we just started this off by saying you're not going to find an OT in the third round. I just don't think this is the year to do so. So yeah.